Welcome back to Rising. Niall, what's in your notes today?
Well, Robbie, President Trump held a roundtable discussion at the White House yesterday. At the end of it, he took questions for quite a while from reporters. But that came to an abrupt end after Trump was asked by a journalist from CNN about the controversial boat strike in the Caribbean. The CNN journalist said accurately that Democratic lawmakers were pushing for full video of that strike to be released. And here's what happened.
Well, I'll tell you, I don't know about lawmakers. Which lawmakers you're talking about?
Most of the Democrats are talking about trying to release it.
I mean, the people that you work for, the Democrats? You know you work for the Democrats, don't you? You're basically an arm of the Democrat Party. Thank you very much, everybody. I appreciate it.
Now, on one level, that's pretty standard Trump behavior. The president evading a legitimate question, trying to browbeat the reporter, and for all his macho posturing, running away. That's how I see it. I also understand that his jabs at CNN delight many conservatives who cheer him on. But yesterday, and today, and tomorrow, what Trump is saying and doing in relation to CNN should concern everyone, very much including those conservatives who purport to care about the heavy hand of government. At issue are rival bids to buy CNN's parent company and Trump's very open desire to meddle in that process. If you haven't been following the corporate shenanigans, a quick summary. CNN's parent company is Warner Brothers Discovery, or WBD. A few days back, a deal was announced between WBD and Netflix. Netflix would buy much of the business, but it would not include CNN in that deal. Then on Monday, Paramount entered the picture. It launched a hostile takeover bid hoping to thwart Netflix. And here's the important part. The Paramount bid is for the whole company, including CNN. Now, why is this so politically vital? Because Paramount is led by David Ellison, the son of Larry Ellison. Larry Ellison is one of the richest men in the world as co-founder of Oracle, and crucially, he is also a friend and ally of Donald Trump. The younger Ellison recently took ownership of CBS News, which is already showing signs of a rightward shift. Does Trump have leverage on the CNN matter? Oh yes, he certainly does. The Justice Department, led by MAGA loyalist Pam Bondi, could block the Netflix deal on antitrust grounds. And that would clear the way for the rival bid, delivering CNN into the hands of Trump's friends, the Ellisons. Two more details. The Wall Street Journal reported earlier this week that David Ellison has, quote, offered assurances to Trump administration officials that if he bought Warner, he'd make sweeping changes to CNN, end quote. And get this, his bid is also backed by a private equity firm led by the president's son-in-law, Jared Kushner. This sounds all very Pravda, or Ministry of Truth. So it's just as well we have a president who rises above such selfish concerns and remains impartial, right?
Well, I'm not involved in that. I will be probably involved, maybe involved in the decision. It depends. You have some good companies bidding on it. I think the people that have run CNN for the last long period of time are a disgrace. I think it's imperative that CNN be sold, because you certainly wouldn't want to put people, just leave those people with some money, good money, and CNN so that, you know, they can spend even more money spreading poison because it's lies.
Again, only one of the two bids on the table involves CNN being sold. What Trump is arguing as imperative here is the selling of a major news organization to his friends because he doesn't like its coverage. Of course, that's causing outrage among liberals. But if you're a principled conservative and you think a president should have that power, what? Why would you think that? Even media rivals to CNN see the dangers. Here's Ari Melber of MS Now, previously MSNBC, recapping Trump's recent history of media interference.
He's tried to sue the messenger, and he got some strong-arm settlements from media companies. He tried to cancel the messenger, the failed bid to get Jimmy Kimmel fired. He tries to bully the messenger, lashing out at reporters with insults and attacks that would have seemed completely like another place, time, or country in any other era.
And Melber, who was speaking presciently on Tuesday before Trump's White House performance yesterday, put the argument exactly right.
Now, the First Amendment protects the Ellisons too. They may buy and run media how they see fit. An honest First Amendment advocate defends their speech and media, or MAGA media, or Fox News, right along with everyone else's free speech. But the problem does come in if the federal government, Trump, abuses power to interfere in this free market, trying to distort what you see, what you hear, to help his own government. And that's at the cost of free speech and perhaps the truth itself.
You can argue about the flaws of any news outlet. We all have them. But we can't have a free media or an authentic democracy if the people who deliver the news are in the president's grip. And that's why plans by Trump for CNN cannot be allowed to stand.
Well, I agree completely, but this is a demonstration of I would argue, the validity of my ideology. I have never wanted these large decisions made by private companies to be subjected to the whims of political or governmental forces. I mean, I would say, not maybe necessarily to you, but to the hard left, that you're getting exactly what your policy calls for. Substantial review of the mergers of major companies by the government. This is what it looks like. And I'm sorry you imagined that these kind-hearted bureaucrats would be making decisions about how big a company is allowed to be and who gets to buy who with just the best, most specialist, most disinterested considerations, and it would all be happy fantasy, tra-la-la. No, we live in the real world where the people in our government are Trump and his people. They won the election. They won a majority of the vote. They won legitimately, and they've staffed it with people who would do what he wanted. I would say that if Democrats won, they'd staff it with people who want to do what Democrats want, and they would pretend they're making those consolidations for the good of others. You think they're not thinking about their political interests? Trump is just more obvious about it. I think it's wrong. I would not give the DOJ or the FTC or the FCC any power over any of these things, and then we wouldn't have a problem.
Robbie, I enjoy the flair and elan that you bring to these arguments,
yes.
But you can't seriously contend that Trump's view of how to use the levers of government power is the same as Joe Biden's or George Bush's or Bill Clinton's. He clearly seeks to use regulatory power or executive power in a much more muscular and obviously selfish way.
I think he uses it in a more obviously selfish way. I'm not sure he uses it fundamentally differently from, those people might not have had the imagination to do it in the way he has, or there might have not been the opportunity. The federal government wasn't as powerful in the 90s as it is now. What he's doing, to my mind, is not tonally different at all from what Elizabeth Warren, for example, would do with this power. Elizabeth Warren, who sent letters to social media platforms and news providers saying, "Why do you have Newsmax in your offerings? Take it down. Why are you putting up a platform that has someone who said something about COVID I don't like? You should take that down, or we're going to look at what legitimate arguments we have to stop you." Trump is doing it to benefit himself personally.
Which is a very
That's an
important
difference to you. It's not an important difference to me.
It's obviously different if you're protesting what you cast as misinformation about public health versus this media organization criticizes me, therefore I'm going to take it away and give it to my pals. That's a different thing.
I'll have to let it stand there. Next up, CNN's Jake Tapper pressed Senate candidate Jasmine Crockett on her past comments about Latino voters. Stay with us.